Hello, welcome to Ray-ality TV. I'm Raymond Bakari. Today I'm joined by Justin Roias, who is running for Providence City Council in Ward 4. In this ward, the incumbent, Councilman Nick Narducci, is term limited, which opens up the seat for 2022. The ward is located in the north end of Providence, containing the Charles and Wanskett neighborhoods. Justin, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Ray. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It's good to have you on. First question here. You're currently running for city council in Ward 4. To my understanding, you're the only declared candidate right now running for the seat. Can you tell those watching a little bit about yourself and why you're best to represent the ward?
Sure. Thank you, Ray. So my name is Justin Roias. I'm a school social worker by trade. I'm a licensed therapist, and I'm from the North End. Half my life has I've been living in the North End, so I know the North End through and through. And I think I'm running because the North End needs a champion. The North End needs someone who's going to be responsive to the quality of life issues that folks are directly impacted by. And I also think the North End needs a policy wonk who's going to dig into the details of policy, who's going to stop ordinances that are harmful to working class people. I think when I think of what makes this council run so special is that, we have someone who I think, obviously talking about myself here, which can be a little awkward, but I think because I've been so rooted here, I think in my view, I've become a fabric of this neighborhood. And I think it's time we have a fire. And what I really want to do, Ray, is connect my neighborhood, connect Charles and Wanskuck together. I want to make sure my neighbors on Charles Street know my neighbors on Leo Ave. The other thing I think, when speaking with neighbors, some of the themes that pop up, and we could probably discuss this more as the interview goes on, but I think my neighbors want three things. They want a safe, connected, and clean neighborhood. And that's what I hope to fight for when I'm elected. So that's a little bit about me. I'm also born and raised in this city. I am a proud product of the Providence school system. When it comes to knowing the people here, I'm very connected. And I understand, through my personal and professional experience, and I know what people are going through in this city, and I think it's time for bold action. We can't really solve the pressing issues that hang over our city with incremental cosmetic changes.
Looking at some of the policy proposals you have on your campaign platform, one of your plans as city councilman would be to establish the Neighborhood Volunteer Snow Removal Assistance Initiative. Is this something that you would introduce or as an ordinance to pass?
Yeah, I think there might be different ways. I don't know what the legal parameters around that, to be honest. I think the city of Pawtucket has a similar program. I thought of this initiative as it's born just from having blizzards every winter and thinking about those neighbors who don't have access to a snowblower, who are not able to remove their snow from their property. And so my vision for this is to, bring our faith-based institutions in our neighborhoods together to outreach to neighbors who would volunteer their time to shovel out their fellow neighbors' property. Again, those are neighbors who might, maybe the older adults, the aging population, neighbors with disabilities. So the legal parameters haven't really been figured out, but I think it is possible, and I think there are different ways we could achieve that. But at this time, I'm not sure if an ordinance would be necessary.
You also want to establish a neighborhood discount program. This would help small businesses in the ward and adds a perk to being a resident in the north end of the city. How would you go about making that a reality as a city councilor?
Yeah. So, my vision for this is really it's the idea of, I think, what we call uh the velocity of money. So when I think about supporting small business in our neighborhood, in our communities, I think about the amount of times a dollar can change hands. And so what I want to do is make sure our small businesses are supported. You know, across the Charles corridor, we're lined up with awesome businesses. Some have struggled to stay afloat, obviously in the middle of a pandemic. That's not uncommon right now in this landscape. Um, and so I want to, bring this small business community together, engage them, ask them what they need. And I feel like incentivizing our neighbors to shop in our neighborhood is one way to do that. And I think, with the small business community's buy-in, I think we could come up with a North End discount program that's going to spur economic output.
This next question is more of a Ward 4 specific question. I know you want to work with the community to create a comprehensive plan for the future of the Windmill Elementary School. Are there any ideas in specific that you would like to see in that plan?
Ray, fortunately, there's already a plan set in place through the collaboration of PPSD, through RIDE. And so Windmill was, as you might know, was closed for about 10 years. And I think it really impacted the neighbors who lived around the North End because, up until now, right, the North End was the only neighborhood that didn't have an elementary school, and so actively in operation. And so I'm so happy to know that Windmill will be in operation very soon. I believe the date set or the year set is 2023, and so it's going to serve as a temporary swing space. So Windmill will include students from. So basically, what's going to happen, Ray, is that the idea, and I think it's a wonderful idea, is that when other schools and privates are under construction, Windmill will be a school to host them while their school gets fixed. And so it's going to serve the K-8 population, and it's going to hold about, I believe, 700 students. The great thing about this is that, the Windmill Elementary School being closed down has been a target for vandalism. I know it's very important for safety reasons. Neighbors have been very concerned. So, I shout out to RIDE and shout out to PBSD for putting this in the works. I think it's going to make our neighborhood safer, honestly, and to have a landmark school operate back in our neighborhood, I think it really strengthens our pride as a neighborhood.
While we're talking about schools, charter schools is another big topic that comes up in the discussion of education in the city of Providence. Where do you stand on the role charter schools should have in the city?
I think there's a role for charter schools. I will say I'm not anti-charter. I just don't want charters to exist at the expense of traditional public schools. I think we need to adequately fund our public schools in Providence, and I'm not sure if that's happening. You know, on the flip side, I understand that Providence students have been victims of a grossly inadequate education, and so you know honestly, I don't feel comfortable telling parents that they shouldn't send their children to charter schools. I think that school choice is very important, and the stakes are high for a lot of families, and so I want to honor that and also recognize that. But you know, if we're going to expand charter schools in the city of Providence, we need to fully fund the traditional public schools that currently exist.
It sounds like a healthy balance in the middle.
Absolutely, yes, Ray.
You have a lot of ideas on the education portion of your platform, like increasing teacher pay, providing resources to help address chronic absenteeism, which is a big issue right now in the Providence school system, and many more. Can you explain for those watching what some of those proposals you have are?
Yeah, they range. I think so. So for me, I think we need to do better at creating, supporting teacher pathway programs. I think we need to do a better job at retaining teachers. I think we need, in order to do, I think we need to increase pay. I think teachers deserve raises. I think we need to reduce our class sizes in Providence. I think we need to ensure that there's funding for our ELL population. I think, I would like to see a high school graduation mandate where all students in PBSD with the option to opt out, where all PBSD seniors, are mandated to apply for FAFSA, again, with the option to opt out. But what else? I'm trying to remember my platform fully here. I think that I also like to see the city support programs where we provide scholarships to seniors who want to study education at the undergraduate level, and the hope is that they come back to our district and become teachers. Nothing gives me more joy than to have students as products of our school system come back and give back to the city in invaluable ways that teachers do.
Shifting the conversation to public safety for a moment, because that is another top issue when it comes to Providence politics. When looking at your platform, it kind of sounds like you're on the boat of what a lot of Democrats are now calling is a reimagined public safety. And to my understanding, This is at least taking some form of money from one area, or even getting in revenue to fund programs where like a social worker will respond to a situation that a police officer is not needed for, or doing things like job programs to in hopes of addressing the root causes of crime.
Right.
The concern with that comes from those who aren't fully on board with that idea is that they see it as a way to take money from the police budget. Would you be in favor of taking money from the police budget for those ideas?
Yeah, I would. I think there's the root. So let me just say this. Much of my neighbors have expressed a need to support police in fighting violent crime. And I want to stress that, violent crime. They also have expressed the need for officers to have the resources necessary to solve these murder cases that have it, and there's a long list of unsolved murder cases in our city, and we ought to give justice to those families. And so in my view, there is a need for police. Now, we also need to understand what causes crime in our city, and that's when folks are in desperation. They need their basic needs to be met, and we need a city government that really is prioritizing their needs. So, the root causes of crime could be chemical dependency, mental illness, poverty, systemic racism, right? Those are the core issues that cause crime in my view. And so when we think of public safety, we need to expand our vision. And I'm not against the reallocation of funds, but I think the devil's in the details.
Do you believe that there should be more police officers in the city hired?
It's a great question, Ray. More officers, it really depends. Again, it depends, more officers, and the chief said this at a city council meeting a few months ago. More officers does not mean a reduction in crime. At the same time, I want to recognize that for a lot of folks, more officers visible, there's a sense of security they feel. There's a sense of safety they feel with more officers on the streets. But there's also a lot of folks who feel unsafe with more officers. And so I want to balance that. The thing is that, it depends on how we use our officers. Do I believe in a top heavy administration in the police department? No. And so, I need to know the plans in place and where we're going to place our officers or how we're going to use them. So it's not just simply hiring at will. I need to know how we're going to use our officers to reduce crime in our city.
One
That's a
idea
great
that,
question, though.
my apologies. One idea that comes up is also community policing. Where do you stand on that?
I think in theory, I support community policing, right? My view is the current state of policing in our city and state. I think it's hard to achieve the lofty goal of community policing because we have an accountability mechanism that doesn't currently exist, right? For various reasons. We have the existence of Leo Bore, which makes it difficult for police departments to terminate officers who commit wrongdoing in our communities. And so on one hand, I support community policing. But when you have officers who remain on the force and they're visible to the communities after committing misconduct, it's hard to achieve community policing when you have officers who exist on the department after committing, misconduct issues. And so it's not a good representation of the police department. And I think as long as Leo Bore exists, it's hard to achieve community policing. It feels like more PR rather than community policing.
I do just want to do one quick follow-up before we move on
Sure.
to the next topic, because another part of your platform, there is a topic you address in that where it calls for taking police officers from schools. This is one that you don't hear often when it comes to the talks of the discussion of public safety, police officer hiring and whatnot. Why get rid of the police officers in school?
We have to ask ourselves, are we here to educate students, or are we here to put them on a path to incarceration? We need to hire more school social workers. I'm biased. I'm a school social worker, right? But I just don't believe we're here to educate, not incarcerate. I don't think it gets any simpler than that.
Reducing the city's carbon footprint is another big topic that's going to be talked about a lot from the council candidates in this election cycle. A few of them I've already interviewed have mentioned this on their platform, and it's also on yours. And what ways would you be able to help address this issue as a city councilor?
Yeah. There are things that have been in motion since 2019, the climate justice plan. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Ray. It was produced in collaboration with the Elorza administration and the JC. And they produced, targets that I think, I support. I think it's, the one target is to be carbon neutral by 2050. I happen to think, that is probably too far away. I think we need something urgent. I also, I think we need to codify an ordinance, city ordinance, those targets, because, when Elorza moves on, who's to say that climate justice plan won't remain on the shelf to collect dust? So we need real action. And in order for that to happen, we need for it to be city law. And so I support many of my colleagues who are currently running support right now an idea of a city level Green New Deal. And I happen to agree with that and support that fully. And I believe that Boston has made headway with that. And so I think we need to follow it in the footsteps of Boston right now. And I think the target is 2036, and that feels right to me.
These next couple are ones that I've been asking every city council candidate to just pick their brain on these, because these are some things that you would have to focus on, or not focus on, I should say, address if you're elected. So there are quite a few committees on the city council. You have finance, ordinances, claims and public works, or claims and pending suits, public works, the list goes on. Do you have a specific committee you'd like to be on if elected?
Yeah, I think I would love. I think the finance committee is a pretty powerful committee. When we talk about people-centered budgets, I think that lives within the finance committee. I like to lend my perspective on how we fund core city services and who we prioritize, which services we prioritize over another. Um, I think that on the finance committee, you'll find that a lot of tax breaks to wealthy developers come from the finance committee. And if given a seat on that committee, I would lend a perspective that wouldn't be so willing to go with the conventional wisdom of handing out TSAs to developers.
If you're elected, one of the first votes you would have is voting for the new council president, because for those watching, the current council president, John Igliozzi, is term limited. Are there any current city councilors that you have in mind that you'd like to see as council president?
All right, I'm not going to give you a cop-out answer, but it's politics. I won't say that. I do have folks in mind, but I can't give you that answer, Ray. Be very honest.
Fair point. Can you at least confirm if they're a current city council member?
Sure. Yeah. Definitely, there are current city councilors that would make an ideal president. I could, describe folks who I'm looking. I think I could describe the qualities of folks that I think I would want to see in a council president. And I want someone who's gonna make decisions with folks who are struggling in our city. So every decision has to be, how is this going to impact those residents who are struggling to keep food on the table and to keep the lights on? That's a council president I'm looking for. And we can't be, I don't want fortune cookie speak. I don't want more platitudes. I want actions. I want deliverables. I'm done with the rhetoric. We need folks to go all the way in. I mean, there's too much at stake right now, Ray. There's a sense of urgency that folks need. We can't play along with those wealthy special interests who have controlled our city for far too long. We really need to act now. And so I'm looking for a council president who's not going to bend under pressure, who's not going to lay down for those special interests.
Another question that I've asked every council candidate so far we've had on is about who they would be supporting for mayor. The primary is in September. We actually just had a candidate forum at Rick yesterday. We're currently filming this on Thursday, the 24th. There's 4 candidates: Michael Solomon, Brett Smiley, Gonzalo Cuervo, and Councilwoman LaFortune. Out of those 4, is there anybody that you plan to throw your support behind?
I have a few folks who I think I'm leaning towards, but Ray, I'm focused on. I know this. Every politician gives this answer, but truthfully, I'm just really focused on my campaign right now. I'll make that decision once folks reveal their policy platforms. Because I really care about what they're going to say, and then what if they're actually going to do it. So. I have a few folks in mind. I have a few folks who I definitely won't be supporting, but my support will come much later. I'm really just focused on getting my campaign off the ground.
Would your support come before the primary?
Possibly, Ray.
Are you comfortable with listening to? You said there's folks that you're not going to support. Are you comfortable with listening to them since you're not going to support them?
I am not comfortable listening to them. I think I'll give you this, Ray. As we get closer to our primary, I will absolutely let you know the folks that I will not be supporting.
Sounds like a plan. Shifting to the non-political topics, these last 2 questions are part of like the icebreaker to end away from politics. I noticed that you graduated from Rick, and it's a trend that I'm noticing with a lot of candidates seeking office and current office holders. Yeah, it surprises me. I didn't realize how many Rick alum actually are in the Rhode Island political world. Like, I knew Mayor Fung and Congressman Langevin, but
sure.
It's one of my favorite things to learn as I do these. You graduated not too long ago with a master's of social work. What was your time like as a Rick student?
Well, Ray, you are great with like the background knowledge on candidates.
Thank you.
No, great work. My time at Rick, both when I got my bachelor's degree in social work and my master's degree, was just such a great experience. Well, what I really love about Rick is that when we talk about first generation college students, I mean, Ray, you probably know this. Like, I don't know what the exact number is, but Rick produces so many first generation college graduates, and it's something to be proud of. It's something to hang our hats on as alum. We are a working class blue collar institution, and I think we should never shift away from that. I think the other thing is Rick, I think, produces 70% of its graduates stay in Rhode Island. I mean, we talk about civic engagement, not in the sense of just being politically involved, but in the sense that we are remaining in the state and giving back in different ways. And so I'm very proud of that. But I am a huge fan of Rick. I will never say a negative thing about Rhode Island College. I think what I will say is the state needs to fund Rick, and we need to invest in higher education. We have not done that for many years, and I believe it's impacted our enrollment. But I'm very, very proud to have graduated from Rick.
It's an underrated school, and I'm actually a first-gen college student myself, so I understand exactly what you mean by that.
I am as well.
That's awesome. Were there any student clubs or organizations that you were involved with during your time?
Ray, the truth is, I was holding down two jobs, and other life experiences really took me away from having the typical college experience. But I don't think that's necessarily uncommon with many of our students who go to Rick. And so I wasn't able to actively participate in a club. I wish I did, but I think I was I was a treasurer for a organization in the School of Social Work. The name is slipping my mind, but that was temporary, and I just couldn't continue given what I was going through at the time.
The final question I ask everyone on the show is one that is here to keep tradition, and it's one of my favorite questions to ask. In your opinion, what do you think Rhode Island is best known for?
Probably the obvious is Family Guy, wieners, coffee milk, jewelry. Probably not anymore because manufacturing jobs have been outsourced. And this might not be a mainstream opinion, but we have an awesome hip hop scene in Rhode Island. If I could shout out Flawless Real Talk, John Hope, J Deuce, right? I mean, there's more names. There are more names that are just that come to mind, but I'm not thinking about them now. But we have DJ Lefty, right? I mean, like, incredible talent here. I realize that might not be a mainstream view, but I wanted to make sure I pay homage to the hip hop scene with this question here. I also think, like, when I think of Rhode Island, and I think people from outside of Rhode Island, once they get past that we're not Long Island, I think folks are like, oh, Buddy Cianci, which is like, I guess like good / bad, potentially, depending on who you are. I think I feel proud to be a Rhode Islander. And there's something to be said about, because we're so small, we could really make a huge impact and lead the country in a lot of things. Unfortunately, that we're not doing now. But we have such an ability to bring people together in such a short time due to the size of our state. We just had, and everything's so close by that we could have a lasting impact. And when it comes to, especially on the public policy level, so that's my answer in a nutshell regarding what I think Rhode Island is best known for.
That was a lot of firsts. I had never. You're the first, I think, out of the 50-something episodes to mention the Family Guy, because that's where the show is based in, and McFarland went to RISD, and the Long Island comparisons and the coffee milk. I think you won the bingo card for that question, because
Perfect.
That was all the firsts.
Apple Hip Hop. Did anyone mention that?
No, that actually surprised me because I know Jay Deuce is from Rhode Island and Flawless. I didn't know about John Hope, and I think Flawless. He was on the what show was that called? Yeah,
Netflix show. Yeah,
yeah, he was on the show.
He actually got the key to the city, and I was happy that Mayor Lorza decided to do that because it was well earned.
Yeah, I remember that because the music majors in my school, because I went to a high school called TAPA. It's a performing arts charter school. So he either came to our school or I think actually both. And then the music majors went with him to the city, like that city hall that day when he won the key to the city. So it's a small world, and I like that full circle connection. Well, Justin, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure of mine to have you on.
Thank you, Ray, so much. And keep up the great work. You are making a name for yourself rather quickly, and you're making us all proud as Rick alum. So seriously, keep up the great work, honestly. And I think hopefully when you graduate, there are plenty of journalist jobs out there for you.
Thanks, Justin. That means a lot. And thank you for watching this episode of Ray-ality TV. If you want to see future episodes as soon as they're posted on the channel, please click both the subscribe button down below and the post notification bell icon to the right of it. I'm Raymond Bakari, and I'll see you on the next episode.